understand, then I'm gonna talk. But I gotta learn in order to teach. Then I'm gonna burn.
Hello everybody, welcome again to this Gaining from Disorder series. This time I will start with a bit different subject, but it has so many connections with what we actually do. I will start by reading from Anti-Fragile, from of course Nassim Taleb. And I will start to read about the green lumber fallacy. So from now on I will read a bit and reflect about it. Alright. The green lumber fallacy. In one of the rare non-charlatanic books in finance, descriptively called What I Learned Losing $1 Million, the protagonist makes a big discovery. He remarks that a fellow named Joe Siegel, one of the most successful traders in a commodity called green lumber, actually thought that it was lumber painted green rather than freshly cut lumber called green because it has not been dried. So this guy was the most successful, one of the most successful trader in green lumber, but he thought it was just lumber painted green. So he traded about it, but he didn't actually know what it was. Let's go on. And he made it his profession to trade the stuff. Meanwhile, the narrator was into grand intellectual theories and narratives of what caused the price of commodities to move and went bust. So the expert went bust. Let's go. It is not just that the successful expert on lumber was ignorant of central matters like the designation green. He also knew things about lumber that non-experts think are unimportant. People we call ignorant might not be ignorant. The fact is that predicting the order flow in lumber and the usual narrative had little to do with the details one would assume from the outside are important. Excuse me. People who do things in the field are not subjected to a set exam. They are selected in the most non-narrative manner. Nice arguments don't make much difference. Evolution does not rely on narratives, humans do. Evolution does not need a word for the color blue. So let us call the green lumber fallacy the situation in which one mistakes a source of necessary knowledge, the greenness of lumber, for another less visible from the outside, less tractable, less narratable. My intellectual world was shattered as if everything I had studied was not just useless, but a well-organized scam, as follows. When I first became a derivatives or volatility professional, I specialized in non-linearities. I focused on exchange rates, a field in which I was embedded for several years. I had to cohabit with foreign exchange traders, people who were not involved in technical instruments as I was. Their job simply consisted of buying and selling currencies. Money changing is a very old profession with a long tradition and craft. Recall the story of Jesus Christ and the money changers. Coming to this from a highly polished Ivy League environment, I was in for a bit of a shock. You would think that the people who specialized in foreign exchange understood economics, geopolitics, mathematics, the future price of currencies, differentials between prices in countries, etc. Or that they read assiduously the economics reports published in glossy papers by various institutes. You might also imagine the cosmopolitan fellows who wear ascots at the opera on Saturday night, make wine sommeliers nervous, and take tango lessons on Wednesday afternoons, or spoke intelligible English. None of that. My first day on the job was an astounding discovery of the real world. The population in foreign exchange was at the time mostly composed of New Jersey, Brooklyn Italian fellows. Those were very street people who had started in the back office of banks doing wire transfers, and when the market expanded, even exploded with the growth of commerce and the free floating of currencies, they developed into traders and became prominent in the business and prosperous. My first conversation with an expert was with a fellow called B. Something that ends with a vowel. Sorry, so funny. Something that ends with a vowel, dressed in a handmade Brioni suit. I was told that he was the biggest Swiss franc trader in the world, a legend in his day. He had predicted the big dollar collapse in the 80s and controlled huge positions. But a short conversation with him revealed that he could not place Switzerland on the map. Foolish as I was, I thought he was Swiss Italian. Yet he did not know there were Italian speaking people in Switzerland. He had never been there. When I saw that he was not an exception, I started freaking out, watching all these years of education evaporating in front of my eyes. That very same day, I stopped reading economic reports. I felt nauseous for a while during this enterprise of de-intellectualization. In fact, I may not have recovered yet. So I will stop here because it was a long story. So this is the green lumbar fallacy. The first time I read it, it was so recognizable, and I had to laugh a lot. I'm still, if I have to reread it, I have to laugh again because I noticed this over the years on myself. So I recognize it immediately. For example, in my original country, Morocco, I was born here, but my parents born in Morocco. You have this people that can fix almost anything. If you have a broken electronics or something like that, you give it to them and they just fix it. So you would expect that they know everything about electronics, about the mechanics, how stuff works. But when you actually ask them, and you will realize step by step they don't know anything about what it is, but they know enough to fix your a mobile phone or something like that. So I had it even in my own career. I had it multiple times. I will give a short a couple of examples. The book is over there, so I have to grab it first. What you see here may seem very intimidating. You see here Fourier series by Georgy P. Tolstoy. It's by the way an excellent book. Fourier series are used in mathematics for a lot of things. I don't need to go into the details, but they're used to solve, for example, partial differential equations. I once had to, when I was in college, I had to fill up some extra courses that were outside my specialization, and I didn't know what to do, and I was in the second year, and I tried the course from the third year, but I did not follow the lectures at all because I couldn't. So I thought in the beginning, this is a hard course, and this partial differential equations, and I didn't understand anything about it. About this course. But a couple of my college friends were doing it, and a week before the exam, I decided to do the exam. So I went in, and in mathematics is kind of a community, so I was just there. They were practicing exams. So not about the theory, what is a partial differential equation, what is it used for, just how. how to solve. You have an exercise and you have to solve. And I was just there with them, and you had to use also Fourier series to solve certain stuff. So they had to follow a course of a whole semester, right? So how can you learn a whole semester in 1 week? And long story short, I was just learning like a monkey how to simulate, how to manipulate this object. Oh, from here to here, this is the right answer, this is the wrong answer. I didn't know anything about the material. My teacher would be angry about it. But maybe this is also information. I just knew how to solve a certain type of equation. Of course, you should have some technical skill how to do a calculus, but that is something considered easy. If you do mathematics as a major, calculus is something easy. It's just mechanical. So if it's mechanical, it's actually not mathematics. But the whole course was mechanical. It was just how to solve this to this, like a robot. So a friend of mine, he helped me. And he told me, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. But the day we had exam, I made the exam, and I got an 85%, which is almost an A. And which is the irony, the friend that followed the course had lower than me. He had also a high grade, he had maybe 80%, and he was flabbergasted. He told me, how I explained you how to do the course, and you got a higher grade than me. He wanted to make me brilliant, but I knew I was not brilliant at all. I'm not brilliant at all. So I just said, no, I just knew how to, because I didn't know much, but I knew enough to pass the exam. So this is very recognizable for me, and I had it many more times. I don't want to go in all the examples, but the green lumbar fallacy is very, very good to have in the back of your mind, because it teaches you something about understanding, about what something is, and the how is not always the same. So for you to take away, understanding has different way of things. For example, I will not go again into the technical, but I just want to leave you with this very nice fallacy. Let it sink in your mind and think about situations you were in a certain in a similar way, like the green lumbar fallacy. So that was enough for this video. Thank you very much. Subscribe, like, share, etc. Have a nice day.
Then I'm gonna walk, then I'm gonna stand, then I'm gonna talk. But I gotta learn in order to teach.